what's clear about what Kirby Smart is looking for from his football team is that he does have a line, right? We've been talking about Kirby Smart and the Georgia football team here recently from the lens of, is this burgeoning dynasty coming to an end because of the changes to the SEC, to the ACC, to the Big 12, and to the Big 10, notably adding more teams, adding great teams, adding teams that can compete for championships, like Oklahoma and Texas are not Vanderbilt and Mississippi State. You know what I'm saying? Adding USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon is not adding Washington State and Oregon State. And I make that distinction to be clear. Oregon State and Wazoo were left out of this thing. There are some programs that are going to be challenged in this new era of college football, not just because of the 12-team playoff for the new conferences, but name, image, and likeness money influencing where players go and how long they choose to stay at their given schools. And the transfer portal, among other things, has really opened up college football to what many people call free agency. I'm like, dog, it's free agency when you go to work. If you're a plumber and somebody wants to pay you more to do the same job, you're going to go work for them. Stop making it that stupid. But one of the things that I've always kind of had get under my skin is grown men trying to tell other grown men what they should or should not be doing with their money and with their time, and the consequences that seem to just come out of nowhere for some and never come for others. So we saw Ollie Gordon get arrested, charged with speeding and blowing over the legal limit in Oklahoma. Mike Gundy says he's going to go through the justice system, but he ain't going to miss any games. Since Chandler LaCroix and Devin Willock died last January, 2 Januaries ago, so January 2023, we've seen nearly 24 Georgia players get charged with a driving-related offense of some sort, whether it's speeding, reckless driving, racing in these very expensive cars that they've been loaned as part of name, image, and likeness deals. Some of them even drive Lamborghinis and Trackhawks, very fast cars. Every car, by the way, is fast in 2024, all of them. The EVs are fastest, right? Don't be stupid. But Rara Thomas's dismissal from the Georgia football team is about something entirely different. So Rara was arrested Friday morning in Athens, Clarke County on a felony charge of cruelty to children and 2 misdemeanors of battery. This is according to the ACC jail log as uncovered by Dawgs 247, and was booked late that morning and was not released until about 12:30 the next day. It's also the second time that he's been arrested in the last year for charges of this sort, misdemeanor charges of family violence. He is a transfer from Mississippi State. He was a standout at Eufaula in Eufaula, Alabama, I should say. And it is Kirby saying, okay, enough is enough, because there was some talk about whether or not he'd be allowed to play this year, even going back to the spring. And Kirby came out and said, look, he's been made to understand some things need to change on his end if he wants to be on the football team. And those things did not change. So Kirby made the call on Tuesday that he does not get to be a part of the football team anymore. And it's not, I would like to think that it's not just about how good they are as a football team, particularly at wide receiver where they have depth, but what Kirby actually is going to put his foot down on. And I think we can all agree that's a good reason to say, okay, you got to figure some other things out. Football doesn't need to be a priority for you, because there are other things in your life that need to take precedent, this being one of them. It also does speak to the depth that they got at wide receiver at Georgia. London Humphreys chose to transfer in from Vanderbilt. He's one of the better gets at that position in the sport this year. You've got Dylan Bell coming back at wide receiver. You've got Dominic Levitt coming back at wide receiver. You've got guys. You just don't know which one of those guys is going to step up and take over the mantle. For the last couple of years, it's been Brock Bowers, right, who was the best tight end in a loaded tight end room. At one point, we're talking about Brock Bowers. We're talking about Eric Gilbert. And we're talking about Darnell Washington, right? Like, that's pretty damn good. And then we're talking about George Pickens, right? And you've added Trevor Etienne to the backfield to go along with what I think is going to be a Heisman candidate in Carson Beck, right? You're going to be good on defense. Just how good are you going to be on defense? Normally, I'm used to seeing Georgia be dominant at defensive tackle, at nose, at the zero, at the 3 technique. They might not be this year, but they're great everywhere else. Like, they're young in the secondary, but my God, are they good. Like, Ellis Robinson in fourth, he's good. KJ Bolden, he's good. Those are freshmen. Malachi Starks, probably going to be a Thorpe Award finalist again. They've got men out there that can absolutely play. And they got linebackers that we all trust too. Like, it's there for Georgia. I don't think that we've seen the end of what it is that they may or may not be doing. I do think that these things give an Urban Meyer flair of the Florida years, okay? That's something you always want to stay away from. You don't want anybody to get any inkling that you don't have control over your football team or that it is too talented for you to police it, for you to punish it, for you to reprimand it. That is what we're going to be watching going into the first few weeks of the season and continue to watch all the way down, okay? That is what I would be worried about if I was a Georgia football fan. That said, I picked y'all to win the SEC. I think that it's a great football team. I think you're going to get pushed. I think you're going to get challenged. Texas is going to challenge you. Ole Miss is going to challenge you. But outside of that, you're deep. You know who you are. You have an identity, and you have a football coach who's one of the best in the country. Just nip this off the field stuff in the bud.